Live.
Hey guys.
All right. Welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in to today's Timer Tuesday, number 4. It's been a whole month since we started.
Can you make sure this time that if you're talking, the camera goes on you? Like I was checking the replay the other day. You're like talking for like 2 minutes in the beginning.
Yeah, no, it should be going on to you now. And as with every time, I just had the video start playing in the background again. Yeah, no, it should be showing both of us. Can everybody hear us and see us all right? If you let us know in the chat, that would be awesome. I see there's 40 of you guys joining us today already. So big welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, depending where you are.
From? Would love to know. Because right now, me and Fabian has a huge difference of time. I'm in Montreal and he's in Europe.
Yep, we've got 5 hours between us, I think.
6. Oh, there's the daylight saving that was like this weekend. Was that possible?
Yeah, no, it's 5. I think it's 5 hours now. So yeah, is everybody tuning in before work, after work, during work? It's the most committed students. All right, well, if everybody can hear us and see us, I'll check in a sec. Yep, Bob said he can hear us and see us from Cornwall, UK. Cool. I got Yannick from Montego Bay, Jamaica. Nice. How sunny is it in Jamaica right now? Probably a little sunnier than in Montreal.
Definitely. Today it's like rainy, cold, and gray. It's
nice.
No, not nice.
Yep. Brad's tuning in during work. Nice. All right, cool. So for everybody that's new to Timer Tuesday, this is our weekly challenge that we started about a month ago. And the goal of the challenge is to get yourself to loosen up. If you're the kind of person that gets quite frustrated when painting, and I say if you're the kind of person, I think it's pretty much anyone that starts. If you get frustrated when you start paintings, you start a lot of paintings, but you never finish any, this exercise is designed exactly for you, because the point of it is to set yourself a timer, and each week we give you a new photo, so everybody can work from the same photo, and you set yourself a timer of 60 minutes, and try to just do the best job you can, and give yourself permission to not have to have a final amazing portfolio piece at the end, because that way that'll allow you to take bigger risks, allow you to loosen up and just start painting without diving straight to the details and getting caught up in wanting it to be perfect. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's how it works. You can download the file underneath this video. There's a little link down here. And with that, I don't think you can see David cracking up in the background. But yeah, with that, I'll hand it over to the test subject, David.
Thank you.
Torture for the next 60 minutes by asking him difficult questions while he attempts to paint himself.
All right, guys, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Today we have a portrait. We're going to try to do a portrait today.
Yep. Make it a little bit more challenging.
Screen so you guys can see all my tools. And there we have it.
Cool.
So yeah, guys, if you are, yeah, I need to make myself a timer. If you guys are, by any chance, 60 minutes. Let's start it. If you guys by any chance wants to know where do we find our photo, Fabian, you could put the link.
No need. It's in the download. I always
for that photo. But do you have also the link of the actual website? Because there's a lot of other like beautiful.
Yeah. I always include the. There's a little like shortcut link that'll take you directly to the web page where you can download the photo from.
All right.
Yeah, really nice photos.
Yeah, there's so many good ones. All right. Timer is on. Got the paint. So yeah, today, guys, we have a portrait. You guys know me a little bit. You know that it's one of my favorite subjects. Fabian, can you cut your microphone while you type, please? And so yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, I like to do portrait. So I'm gonna do a portrait today. So yeah, as usual, I'm going to try to get to the colors without color picking the reference, but by trying to do it by looking at my color picker instead, or my color wheel. It's always a good exercise to just try to make your eye see the colors and find them. And for the background, I'm going to use the saffron brush and just try to get as close as possible of those blurry forms here. I'm not going to go crazy on them, not trying to replicate exactly them. Just to have a feel of it is going to be enough for me.
Is there a reason you're doing the background before you start doing the
yeah,
actual subject?
If I was doing like an actual, still a lot of light. If I was doing an actual illustration from imagination, for example, I would probably start with like an outline, and then doing the background with like, would not care, but I'm going to start with colors here, and because I start with colors, therefore the contrast and the colors are in interaction with each other, meaning that if the pale side of his face is against like some black here, so it's important for me to have already that contrast. It's going to help me later to get my proportion better and my colors better as well, as I'm trying to eyeball them. And then,
that makes sense.
Yeah, create a new layer. I'm going to start like, see, I don't need more than that for now. Like I could like just add maybe a little bit of that kind of a bluish, greenish, whatever-ish thingy here. It's kind of it there. And then I'm just going to create a new layer and start bulking up the face here. And I like to use texture brushes when I paint from reference, and when I paint direct from colors. It's going to help me add those, what I like to call the happy mistakes, which is always important. And so yeah, guys, I usually try to talk my whole way, but if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to
just pop them in the chat.
Yeah. So right now I'm going to just try to get the face proportions by placing a basic geometric shape. I have to deal with a bit of lag that I have each time that I'm doing a live, which is always kind of frustrating, but I'll try to do my best even with that.
So one thing that's kind of sticking out to me is you're picking like attempting to pick like a mid-tone-y color,
yeah,
to block out the main shape.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you have any like a process or any tips or advice for trying to eyeball that mid-tone color for something like this, where there is such a big like range in values?
Not
or is it
really.
kind of a gut feeling?
Yeah, it's more like a gut feeling, I would say. Like I'm trying to do something that if I add some more pale color on top of it, I'll be able to paint it, and the dark color as well. So that way I'm able to play with my values later on. Yeah. So even though I don't want to do like line work here, I'm just going to try to establish myself some sort of a face here by just painting this like that. You can see that my proportions are all wrong here. I think it's going to be a tough one, this one.
Yeah, well, I guess you picked this one to kind of ramp up the difficulty a little bit this week. I mean, portraits are always tough because the proportions are so unforgiving.
Yeah.
As soon as it's off a little bit, it looks like a completely different person. So if you're a complete beginner, just keep that in mind and just don't let it stress you out. Remember, we're not aiming for perfection here. You're not aiming for a photorealistic study. You're aiming to paint for the sake of learning, for studying, and for getting better. So don't obsess over it. Don't get frustrated if it looks nothing like the person. Just give yourself props for taking on a challenging challenge. A challenging challenge. That's my
challenging challenge. Huge.
Deeper words haven't
I
been
know, right?
spoken all day.
Your
So
wisdom
we,
has no boundary.
Lauren in the chat is saying she thinks she saw you in a bagel place in Montreal last week. In Saint
Was actually, that's funny. Yeah.
in Saint Viator.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
next
was
time.
there. That was one of the things that was on my list because it's been 3 years. I didn't come back. One of the
Is
things
that a
was
famous bagel
it's
place there? Or
best bagels there is basically if you didn't have a bagel from Saint-Viator place, you never had one. It's the truth.
I had a Canadian friend back in my childhood. They used to call them bagels. Is that a widely used thing across Canada, or was that just my one friend?
Probably just that one friend. So yeah, I was there, and it was pretty damn good.
Should give him a shout out next time. Stop him in the streets. Start asking digital painting questions while he's eating his bagel.
That would be perfect.
Anybody else from Montreal here in the chat? Seem to have a very worldwide crowd, which is always so cool. So Bob is asking, David, why don't you use your saying homemade, but so self-made gradients for base colors? I'm assuming he means your gradient maps.
Because I'm not starting in black and white, basically, and trying to establish with colors. It's a different technique. The gradient map is great for if you want to paint colors from black and white, or if you have a colored image that you don't like the colors and you basically want to go back at it.
Did you want to? Oh, sorry. Rudely interrupted.
Yeah, and you keep doing it. So yeah, what I was saying that yeah, when I start with colors, I usually prefer to just paint values from colors and not use the gradient map, basically.
Did you want to really quickly, for people that don't know, what your pre-made pack of gradient maps is, what it is, what it's used for, where to find it?
How about you do it? And I'm trying to nail those proportions.
Sure. So some of you might have seen, we have a number of tutorials on one on our free tutorial on our YouTube called, I think, How to Paint Any Skin Tone in 5 Minutes, I think. If you sort through our videos, it's one of our most watched ones, I think. That explains the basics of how to use gradient maps, which are a pretty cool Photoshop feature. They might exist in other software as well. I'm not sure about that. But they definitely exist in Photoshop, and they will map colors to the values that you've already painted. So if you've painted something in black and white, you can map like a color to it, meaning like all values that are a certain lightness will have a certain color applied to them, and all that are a certain darkness will have a certain like color applied to the dark areas. So it can really speed things up and give you quite a big boost if you're starting in black and white, which we do often recommend. We do generally recommend that beginners do, because it allows you to focus on one thing at a time. I mean, color's a huge beast in and of itself. So if you're getting started, it's often easier to start in black and white. That being said, for things like this challenge, feel free to push yourself and start directly in color. You know, it'll be difficult, but you'll learn a lot through it, I guess.
Definitely more difficult with lag. I really need to find a way to do those lags without having lags.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll look into it for the next few sessions.
Well, if anybody is here and watching us, guys, if you're like more tech savvy than us, which I'm sure that you probably are, if you can let us know, there's like a...
We had people tell us Twitch last time, so that could maybe be. I
cannot believe that my computer would be like that slow. I mean, got enough RAM for sure.
It's because you didn't restart your computer. I'm telling you. So what's going through your head right now? What are you working on?
Right now, what's happening is I'm just trying to get the proportion right, but I'm trying to be as loose as possible, not taking like very like drastic marks anywhere, trying to get loose because I want to get the proportion as close as possible, so I can start putting more details. So always starting with that from from far away and then closer. So right now I'm just gonna try to enlarge the head. The proportion I think will be better this way. And yeah, so trying to place all the like there's the one value missing. It's the one on top, which is a little bit more pinkish. So I'm going to try to get that white pink kind of texture, a little bit less pink. Yeah, and I'm now trying to just get the proportions right and building the value slowly.
So yours is looking a little bit more like yellow / greeny. Is that on purpose? Is that a purposeful thing, or was that just kind of?
Well, I saw it from the beginning. There was a little bit more yellow, and I just went for it, thinking that I would just keep on painting on it with the right colors, and it would add some warmer tone in the background. So it's something that I'm sure I'm able to later on modify. So that's why I keep that just as having like something that's not exactly the same, but that gives me like it's a little bit warmer tone to the whole image.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm going to mute my microphone for a sec because there's an orchestra of sirens going on in the background.
So yeah, trying really here to at the same time deal with the lag, which really cripples my movements, and trying to just build slowly. I'll come to the details afterwards. Now just.
How does everybody feel about today's photo, by the way? Would you like to see more portraits? Would you like to see just a portrait every once in a while? Does this one seem difficult, easy? Let us know. I would love to get a bit of feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, okay, no. You explain yours first.
No, I was talking for talking. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've had a few, here's an idea for a topic, maybe. I noticed a few people this week in the Academy group, which is our private Facebook group for Academy members. We're going through some of our challenges, our exercises, and there were people that were obviously coming from a drawing background rather than a painting background. Timer exercises like this by drawing in all the shapes, which then I guess meant, especially so some of them were even tighter timers, like 20-minute timers, for example, would lead to them not being able to render much. Do you have any tips or advice for somebody coming from a drawing background, like making that switch to like the painting mentality versus the drawing mentality? Kind of a tough question because I don't know if you even come from that background, but
exactly. But I think basically what you need to do is to learn how to play with values. I think that would be the first thing I would try. I would start first with the black and white, having more exercise to black and white, to learn the values, because that's the way you build it. It's just through values, basically. So yeah.
Do you find is it the same process for you doing things like proportions and measurements in painting values versus when you're sketching?
I actually feel like it's easier when I do values, because when I do line, the thickness of the line will change the proportions.
That's true. That's an interesting point. Yeah.
It would appear like bigger sometimes and smaller sometimes. And when it's just values, then there's no line, so it's closer to reality. It's easier actually to gauge the proportions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I guess that being said, still out useful to do if you're not doing like a challenge, you have the time to do like a basic sketch with like when you like the geometric sketch method.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, but that challenge is all about just trying to. But what I like to do with this challenge is sometimes I'm going to start a different way, not thinking about the process or the best way to do it, and just jump in it. And sometimes I'll be right, and sometimes I'll be wrong, but will learn from that experience each time.
Mm-hmm.
I like about this process here. Yeah, how much time do I have left? I'm good. I'm good.
All right. So feedback from people saying I like this photo. Brad saying seems good. Portraits are preferred by me. As is Bob saying I love seeing portraits as I struggle to paint them in traditional art. So the more the merrier. Comment from Breon, definitely more portraits, but that chin seems so hard in terms of proportions. It's so dramatic.
Yeah, I'm having actually a hard time trying to go very slowly here to yeah, but having a hard time with the lag and everything.
Mm-hmm. Jorge saying, oh, first Atashi saying someday paint food too. We did actually, we've kind of pre-selected like small group of potential photos, and there are a few food ones in there also. So maybe for one of the future
I like
ones.
to draw food too. Actually, it's one thing that I really like. There's a few artists out there that are doing such great food illustrations.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you think of any names off by heart?
I don't remember the name now. I guess I got one in my head. I just remember it was like kind of an Asian was like doing like sushis kind of thing, and they were just looking so good, amazing. It's very conceptual, but maybe if we do in the weeks to come one about food, I'll try to find the reference that I want to talk. Right now, I just don't have it.
Sounds good. Jorge is saying, this is my first live class. I think it'd be a great challenge to paint in color. I thought you used to pick the colors from the photograph. I mean, we really do encourage people to just try to pick them yourself, because that's really the only way you're going to train your eye to do so. And if you eventually want to start moving away from just purely only painting from references and painting from imagination, you're going to need to know how to, like how colors react, how they interact, how to actually pick colors. There's a very interesting class on that we just added to the Academy quite recently by an artist named Darkin. And he talks, the class is all about how colors are affected by other light sources, by colored light sources. And it's so interesting because he'll just go in and use a color, like an eye picker to the eyedrop tool to like pick colors within a photograph, and areas that look like they're one color are actually completely different colors, because it's all about the context that colors are around. So if, say, a blue is surrounded by a bunch of orange, it'll appear different if it's surrounded by a bunch of green, for example, is a very crude way of explaining that. So really training your eye to pick up like the true colors is very, very important skill. Yeah. I did a terrible job of explaining that, but in a nutshell.
That's okay. Nobody's judging you except me.
Error is asking what brush you're using.
I'm using just a texture brush, like I was explaining in the beginning, just for the sake of having a little bit more texture to work with. Literally, I'm doing it because, especially when those challenges, if I do mistake and I'm using a texture brush, it's going to actually help me to just save my mistake quicker. Because sometimes I'll make a mark with a texture and it's going to actually look good the way it is. And, yeah.
Is it the same brush from our texture brush tutorial, or is it a different one?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I got
Maybe
too
in the
many
future
brushes.
we'll include the brush. A brush. Is it the same brush you've been using for the last Timer Tuesdays, or are you using a different one each time?
No idea. I have a multitude of brushes.
Right. You just kind of pick a random one each time.
Yeah, like for
Cool.
those challenges, what I like is to it's a good way to actually start to learn the brushes that you want to work with. There's always like
Hmm.
some brushes that I discover, and then if I do an illustration, sometimes I'll be just too stressed to start discovering a brush. But if I'm doing a challenge like this one, where I allow myself to fail, then I can actually have some fun and just try to discover brushes. Yeah.
Question from Cortland asking, do you find it easier to use an Intuos versus a tablet monitor such as the Cintiq? Don't you find the disconnect from hand-eye, or do you find the disconnect from hand to eye easy to deal with?
Well, I've been learning on a tablet, and I never had the budget for Cintiq yet. But I can tell you that if I had the budget, I would definitely go with Cintiq, just for the sake of having the eye coordination just being easier. But that being said, like once you learn the eye coordination, it's quite easy. As long as the movements are following. Like in this case, I'm having trouble because the lag is so intense that my movement makes no sense now.
Feel the anger bubbling up.
A little bit, but when it comes to learning it, it's absolutely doable. Really, it's no secret.
How long
So
do you, if you can remember, how long do you think it took you to feel like completely comfortable with using a tablet to get over that hand-eye disconnect?
2 weeks.
Okay, and you were using it all the time for everything?
Yeah, I switch. I stopped using my mouse, and I've been using my tablet since I got it. That's the only way really to be able to master that tool, is to replace it and start doing it for everything. And once you do that, then you'll start learning super fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is definitely a little bit of a weird feeling, especially if you're used to, just drawing or painting with regular traditional tools. That hand-eye disconnect does feel very alien.
Yeah,
But I guess just have faith that it will get easier and easier the more you practice it and really just try to soldier through the hard times. Have you ever used like a friend's, or have you ever tried a Cintiq or similar talent?
I tried it, but like it's like everything, right? Like when I had my tablet, I tried the tablet, and the first time I tried it, it was not easy. So the Cintiq was the same thing, and I tried it like for like 5 minutes. So I find a way to really feel comfortable on it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I guess
Uh,
you'd need a bit of a retraining period again once you
exactly.
switch.
But yeah.
He looks like he's got some sort of kidney disease now with yellow eyes.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's really the base, but I could change that really easily.
Yeah,
Just,
no, I know. I'm just making you feel
it's decent
insecure
for
about your
sure.
painting.
I like it. It's great. So yeah,
What's talk us through what's happening in your head right now? What are you focusing on? What are your
really just focusing on making sure that I'm not going too fast. If I go too fast, I'll mess up with the proportions, and they're already like not super, they're a little bit off right now. But I just want to add enough detail so I can actually read the face, and then when I'll be able to read the face, I'm going to start having some fun with either the liquify or the transformation tools, just to make sure that I'm able to get the right proportions. But for now, I'm really just trying to focus on small details, trying to get that readability that I want from that portrait.
can you try to define like when you at what point do you know that it's readable enough to you?
Well, I think the details, like right now, like just the little contrast for like the eyes, like I'm already able to read the face a little bit more. I can see that the eyes are too small already. It's probably because of the white. So it's a work in progress, really. There's not a moment where you're like, okay, it's just
Just a gradual shift into it.
shift a bit of everything. Like, all right, it's missing a part there, it's missing a part there.
You know, it'd be
And
really
like,
cool.
yes.
No, please, you go first.
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was gonna say what would be really cool is, I don't know how feasible this is, but hooking you or just any digital painter up to an eye tracker to watch like how as you're painting a painting, like how your eyes dart around it. Because you kind of move from like area to area. It'd be really interesting to see if there's like some sort of pattern or like what that looks like.
I wonder. No, really, it's a scanning process. When I'm too close, like I'm too close right now, but just want to add some details.
Too zoomed in, you mean?
Yeah. It's hard for me to just scan the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, for those who saw my work before, saw me live, like I'm having a hard time right now. I don't know if it shows.
I seem to be doing all right.
Trying to really get enough. And usually I would use my mixer brush tool.
But you can't do
all those
with the lag.
but it's so laggy that it's no use. I'm trying to blend everything with just the brush, which it's doable, but it requires a lot more patience.
Mm-hmm. So comment from Bob saying, "I loved the darken lessons, opened my eyes." Yeah, I thought it was a real eye opener too. One of the big kind of aha things I got out of it was when he started sampling, especially white and black, and he took some photos of some like white objects, and everything that appears white to us, it's only white because our brain like filters it and tells us that it's white. But if you're actually eyedropping all the pixels in it, they're generally always colored in. They're always like some different color, but because of the surroundings, our brain like completely changes them to look white or black. And again, that goes with every other color. So no, I thought that was really interesting too. Comment from Air saying, who was asking about the brushes earlier. He said, I was just interested because I always end up using the smooth and hard brushes, but actually I get nicer pictures with texture brushes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I've been trying to use like only texture brushes when I start the rendering, and then I'm using the saffron brush to kind of soften off all the marks. But to start with it's just going to give you like that much more life to your character, really. Okay, so right now I'm going to try to fix just a little bit of the skin because as Fabian was pointing at, it's absolutely off.
He's looking a little Simpson-like.
I'm using just the color balance adjustment layer. Just trying to get.
What's your like mental process when you're doing that? Like, what are you specifically looking out for? Can you try to describe?
Yeah, I was about to do it. You cut me. I was saying that see the background is touch, but I'm trying to just do the skin right now. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just thinking about the skin. I think the background is close enough, so I'm just gonna open it, then I'm gonna reverse that mask, and then probably with the saffron brush. Actually, I'm just gonna paint in white on the area that I want.
If you have no idea what David's talking about with the mask, we have a video on our YouTube that's all about layer masks. So just go on our YouTube page and search for layer masks, or just search for like paintable layer masks. It should come up. But basically, you can use them to like block certain parts of certain layers. So if you're using an adjustment layer like David's doing right now, everything in the adjustment layer, which is that little rectangle on the right of it, everything that's in black, everything that's in white will. So by painting over the face in white, he's allowing that adjustment layer to only affect what's like the face in this case.
Indeed. So yeah, so I think that's the close. What? That's not closer. That's a bit closer. So from there, those are the adjustment layers. I put them in one group and just apply them to character. Let's continue painting from there.
Yeah, it's looking a lot closer now already. So I guess the main things that were, it was just looking too yellow before.
Yeah.
Was that the main?
Yeah, it was pretty much that. So now I'm try to fix proportions a little bit more. I'm trying to take those eyes, and the light is absolutely amazing. And just make sure that the proportions are a little bit better. Eyes needs to be just a bit bigger.
It's crazy how such a small change does make such a huge difference in making it look so much more like him.
Yeah. Especially when it comes to the eyes. I mean, that's the one thing that your eye as a viewer is drawn to, right? So, yeah, to make those changes early on. That's what the proportion at the beginning. It's better. Like I could spend a lot of time right now rendering and everything, but even if it's so messy, if the proportion are right, it's going to look better than if I start rendering the skin. So I prefer to just spend more time doing the proportions. And that's a good lesson to have, really. The values are important, and the proportions. But when it comes to the rendering, you know that time is just it's icing on the cake. You want to do it, but not if it depends on the readability of the rest of the image. So taking my time here to actually nail those things first is going to help. And now I can spend just a little bit more time kind of trying to render parts down and there. Start adding, as an example, some white in the eye. They need to be a little bit brighter. So pick up the white that I have there and just help bring that.
So I got a comment from Bob saying, I haven't found too many problems with my setup. It took me about a month to get used to my bamboo and Photoshop elements. No difference to using paint and an easel, really. So yeah, if you're still in that, you're just getting started, you're still in that first month. Like I said, just know that it'll get better, have faith, and try to power through it. Question from Atashi asking, what subjects do you feel are good for beginners to get started with digital painting?
I would say the subject doesn't matter as long as it's something that's passionate for you. For me, it was portraiture. Maybe for you, it's landscape, or maybe for you, it's food. But if you do something that you have fun doing it, you will have that urge to make it look good. And that's going to help you a lot to actually get better results. If you're trying with something that you're not totally passionate about, it's just going to be longer for you to see results. So no matter what the subject is, just be sure that it's something you can do day and night and just not get bored of it. That's what I would say.
How do you feel on starting with like portraits versus with kind of basic shapes?
Well, what do you mean?
Like, would you recommend kind of doing going straight into portrait, I guess, if it is something that you're passionate about?
Yeah. I would not. Okay, I know what you mean, like rendering spheres and cubes and stuff like that. I mean, those are great exercises, and you need them. And you should build yourself a plan. And we have a whole section in the academy talking about just that. But know your destination is basically what I'm saying. If you want to do portraiture, then you need to give yourself exercises that will help you get there. So maybe start rendering an eye, not a sphere. That's going to be already a step in the right direction.
I mean, that's something we kind of take pride in the academy, is that we use a lot of like real world examples. I mean, when you're first getting started out, using very basic shapes is definitely useful. But then, I mean, our kind of philosophy is that motivation and momentum are just as important to the learning process as like pure, just like learning theory, learning everything. You know, you need to learn the theory, you need to learn, you know, do the practice, but motivation is just as important. I mean, I'm sure probably everybody listening to this has at some point or another had like a, you know, you have a week where you're feeling super motivated and then a week where you're feeling completely burnt out by it. So I guess the quicker you can get into painting things that you're excited about, that you really feel good about, that's going to do wonders for your motivation, which then in turn will kind of snowball the rest of your learning. So that's kind of one of our philosophies at Paintable, which is why David is the master at creating very cool exercises.
Yeah, I love to do that. I'm actually working on some very cool ones right now.
Oh yeah? Anything you can give away? Or not give away, like announce, I guess is the word I'm looking for. Sorry?
Actually, I'm working on an exercise right now to get better at portraiture right now, and how to get better lighting and shadow on your illustrations. And so, yeah, I'm working on a small exercise. It's going to be quick, but very effective to get those better results, yes. So I have only 20 minutes. So what I'm going to try to do is make sure that my proportions are right. I'm going to start adding some details, and it's going to help me get more likability. Likability on that character, because like we know this is an exercise, and I could literally spend, you know, hours on that if I wanted to make it perfect. But this is not the exercise. This is not what we're supposed to do.
I think the word you're looking for is likeness, not likability. So like how, just make it look more like the photo.
Yes.
Likability would be making it like how much you actually like the person.
Well, I'll read that too. But yeah, likability, I guess. So yeah, so I'm just going to try to add a few places, a few more details in a second. So yeah, is there anybody right now? I know Sebastian usually is doing it at the same time that I am. If you're there, shout out to you, man. Been doing some great work.
Yeah, definitely.
Like your work. If you're doing it at the same moment, just let me know. I want to know if there's other people doing it at the same time as me.
Yeah, anyone else? Let's see. Viachi, I think, is asking or saying, I draw on a small Windows tablet on my way to work. In the same light, I've been using Sketchbook because its tooling is less cluttered. Yet in Photoshop, I can't figure out how to make it easier to draw. Which application do you recommend using? And does Photoshop have a tablet mode? I'm pretty sure it does have, it's called Photoshop Draw. I've never used it. I don't know anyone that has used it, but I know it's a version of Photoshop that was designed for the tablet. So yeah, I don't think you've never used it either, have you, David?
No, I did not.
If you're using a tablet, oh no, never mind. If you're using a Windows tablet, if you're using an iPad, you can try Procreate, because that's
yeah, that's what I learned. It's only for Apple. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's an iPad app.
Isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe in the future though. Sorry, that's not
made by.
No, it's not. But I guess they've just focused on perfecting it for one system. Maybe they'll make it for Windows in the future.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, I can't give a whole lot more advice for Windows tablets, but look into Photoshop Draw, or maybe does somebody else in the chat have any suggestions? Oh, sorry, LPLD is saying Adobe Sketch. Adobe Draw is all vector. Oh yeah, right, so stand corrected. Adobe Sketch is the one you want to look for. My bad. Charles is asking where you're from.
Who, me?
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm from Montreal.
No, the other person I'm talking to. Just talking to myself here.
I know, right? I keep listening to you. I'm like, Jesus. I'm from Montreal, guys. I've been living 2 years in Berlin. That's where I met Fabian. That's where the project of Paintables started. But I'm actually a French Canadian. That's the reason why I have a weird English and that I pop up some mistakes of pronunciation, spelling, and all that great stuff when I speak English or
It
French.
blew my mind though. Blew my mind when you told me you didn't start learning English till you were 27 or something. Was that?
Not 27. I think I was 24 before I was actually bilingual. Yeah, it took me forever. I never thought I would use it. Can you believe that?
That's amazing though. You're so fluent considering how relatively late you did start. Let's see. Brad's saying, I agree 100% about motivation. Yeah, I mean, we really try to incorporate that as much as we can. That's the point for all these exercises. We have in literally every class in our academy, it's always goes hand in hand with exercises that are designed to teach you very specific skills, but also just in ways that make you feel good about yourself, make you stay motivated, and give you those little quick wins. That's another section we also have is quick wins for exactly that reason. They're little like 5-minute chunks, like 5-minute exercises you can do to boost your motivation if you're not feeling like you have the mental strength or capacity to paint like a whole portrait because you're feeling just uninspired. If you feel like you've got like artist's block, just do something small. Do something that's going to make you feel excited again, and just work on your motivation first, and try to let it snowball from there. So let's see. Rustill's asking, have you ever tried using Painter 2018?
I
No?
did not. I've been sticking to Photoshop just because once you start knowing one software and you know the software, then it's fun to just start concentrating on getting better at drawing. And that first step is to know the software. And the problem is if I were to learn a new software, then I would have to learn the software again, and I would just like put on pause my learning of new skills when it comes to illustration. And I'm more excited about learning to get better at drawing than learning a new software. But there's a lot of software there that can be like used instead of Photoshop. Probably have their pros and cons, but I don't know that.
Mm-hmm. Just pick a tool and learn to master it, I guess.
Pretty much.
Let's see what other people are saying. How are you? Like, what have been your big challenges so far, or right now in this portrait?
The lag.
Anything noteworthy?
Definitely the lag.
Other than lag?
Because it's like, you learn to paint with a certain movement, and now I have to paint with like a totally different movement. It's like each time I'm making a stroke, I cannot go as fast because, because movement is going to go like it's change each time. But yeah, definitely the lag because it takes all my time. I cannot go as fast as I want, and therefore now I'm rushing to add small details at 15 minutes from the end. But when it comes to the other things, I would say that it's gonna be hard to me to actually to add some realism to the blending and everything. I feel like I spent too much time trying to get the proportions. I don't know if I'm going to have time towards the end to get more detailing. But I'll try. So I have 10 minutes. My goal is to just keep at it. And usually what I do at the total end, because it's a challenge about time, what I'll do at the total end is I'm going to add the really bright reflection in his eye. That's going to pop a lot, realism straight from it. And I will also add some freckles, which will also help in terms of realism. So right now I'm seeing that the mouth should be just a tiny bit bigger. So I'm just gonna.
Looks like the ratio of top lip to bottom lip, the top lip in yours is also a little bit too big versus the bottom lip.
I'm looking at the ratio from the chin, which looks okay. But then I'm looking at the ratio from the nose, which is okay. That's the reason I'm not modifying the lips, because I feel like those ratios are good. If I'm putting like the lip too big, then ratio from there to there.
I think it's the edges of the lip. Like if you look at the top lip, the very right, his lip really like cuts down, and the top lip ends before the bottom lip does by like a good centimeter. Centimeter on my screen. I realize that obviously it doesn't translate to every screen.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try that.
Yeah, I think it's more the angles of the lips than the distances seem fairly correct. Yeah, it's already getting closer.
Laggy.
Let's have a look at the chat. How's everybody that's following along getting on so far? Let's see. So Bob's asking, to counteract the lag, would it be better to draw in a low res and then to go bigger to do the final details?
I'm actually going fairly low res, Bob. That's the problem. You see right now it's full of pixels. Usually I would have a huge canvas when I do illustrations. But because I know it's going to be laggy, I'm putting less pixels. So usually it would do that if you're not filming. But my computer is usually able to take that way more than that many pixels that I have right now.
Is that do you think, so for somebody, say, that's working on a less powerful computer, is that a valid strategy, you think? Something that somebody could do is like get the base down on a low res and then blow it up to a high res at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you should work. And that's funny, I had a friend, an illustrator friend back in Berlin, telling me that he was working with, it's not Manga Studio, it's like, it used to be Manga Studio, it's a different name now, I think. Anyway, another software.
Clip Studio Pro, I think.
Something like that, yeah. And he was telling me that he was able to do like canvases up to like 14,000 pixels, and it was like still fluent, but Photoshop is just really, really having trouble when it comes to, to deal with.
That's crazy, 14,000?
Yeah, it is crazy actually, yeah. Like I don't know, because he's doing flat colors, he's not doing really rendering, so I don't know how that would translate with like rendering.
Oh yeah, that would make a big difference, I'm assuming.
I would guess so, but it's still like if I go halfway in that, like I could work with 7,000 pixels. Usually my canvases are no more than like 3,000 to 4,000, and 4,000 start rushing. So 8 minutes. So what was I saying? I was saying that. So yeah, I feel like maybe like Photoshop is not the best when it comes to deal with actual pixels. There's probably like better options out there. But like I was saying at the like earlier, like because to me it would just be a step back to have to take the time to learn the application. I actually prefer to deal with the problem and just keep on an application than I actually know.
Well, and like you said, it's only really a problem when you're painting live. But so one thing you just said that that's something you do all the time, or you recommend do, like is that something you do all the time?
The computer is usually strong enough to go like the 300 dpi from the start, and I'm fine. But it's definitely helping. Like I've been doing it when I had right now. Yeah, to help me.
To start smaller and then blow it up later. That's cool.
So I'm gonna add some freckles now. Try to add some final details. Yeah, to just add a little bit more realism, a little bit more. Yeah, a little touch on. Obviously, on my separate layers, I'm painting everywhere, not taking care of anything, and then I'm gonna play with the opacity to just get the right opacity. I'm also gonna blur them a little bit. Just so they're not so sharp. Depending on the brush you're using, may or may not have to blur it. It's too much blur. Don't even see it anymore. That's strange. Right. Okay, why are you?
What are you doing right now?
Well, I was trying to add some freckles and blur them, but it disappeared for some reason. I'm just gonna try it again.
Oh, is the blur too high?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought, but it was just like literally disappearing. Now it's better. And I'm just gonna put this like that. And then using a saffron brush for the eraser, I'm just gonna delete whatever it was on the eyes and the lips, which I don't need.
If you're wondering what kind of brush David's used for that, or if you'd like to make your own freckles brush, we have a tutorial on that on our YouTube. If you search either on our YouTube for freckles or just on YouTube for how to paint freckles paintable or how to paint freckles digital painting, if you search for just how to paint freckles, I just saw you're just going to get a million makeup tutorials. But if you add digital painting or paintable into the title, David actually made, it's one of the first tutorials you made, I think, nearly like 2 years ago, where you explain how you can go about making your own freckle brush.
Yeah, I always like to actually create my own brushes. We have, in the academy, we have a really in-depth class, actually, where I really go in detail into how to create your own brush. That's pretty much best that I went into.
Hey, give me 1 sec, David. I'm just gonna quickly go turn my lights on because I'm sat here in the dark now.
All right, so I think I'm going to pretty close. The eyes obviously are not green anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten everything, and I'm going to take a new layer on top of it, put it to color, take a saffron brush, and I'm going to try to bring back that green by just painting on the green with that layer. Obviously, it's going to be too green at the beginning, so what I'll do is just play with the opacity here and try to get back to the green that I want. I think it's already closer. Yeah, it's close enough. So yeah, now it's so much lag. All right, so now it's greenish. So I'm just trying to see what I can modify to make it that much better. I can feel like the eye here could use some liquify. So I'm going to try to liquify it. I have like maybe like 2 or 3 minutes. I don't have much pixels on that thing, but trying to. So I think that's already better.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Do you have maybe adding just a few hair highlights? Will that make a difference, or do you think adding some more skin details would be?
Well, because it's a portrait, right? So everything is already in the eye, so the hair highlights won't add that much.
Right. Adding, like crisping up the eyes and adding some details there will make more of a difference.
more of the difference, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So
His at the very end also. Notice the highlights on his face are also a bit brighter in the photo. Maybe just adding a contrast filter, just lightening up the top half of his face just a tiny bit more at the very end.
Yeah, could. 3 minutes.
Pressure's on.
Just. Yeah, I see what you mean.
It's fairly minor though. Keep working on the eyes if you think that'll be a bigger impact.
Yeah, you think you're gonna let me do that?
I'm your art director now, David. Make it look better.
That joke being apart, I really like that you're there to give me feedback. To everybody that's listening to, guys, you need someone like Fabian to help you get better. Really, it's really important. Okay, so I got 2 minutes. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I see there's a few details.
Anyone in the chat have any suggestions for what David should work on for the last 2 minutes?
Like the hair, I could put way more time on the hair for sure. But what I'll do here is I'm going to do just a candy trick. I'm just going to add an overlay layer. Whoopsie. Overlay layer on top of everything. Saffron brush. And I'm going to add with some white, just a little sharp, little brightness into the few places and play with the dark. A few places. Basically adding the contrast that I need to just pop up that painting right here, right there. Oh, that's too much. But just a little bit more, just to get around this and everything. I think that's really it.
So, quick comment from Nikki, and I'd probably agree, transform the bottom lip to be bigger and more square. It's a bit too round right now, especially the bottom left. You've rounded it too much. It needs to be a bit more rectangular. And the top lip a little bit smaller.
Well, that's a lot of details that way. I'm going to try to just trick it and to transform it, if I'm able to.
ELB67 is saying more shadow under the chin also, which I would agree with, but it's probably, I wouldn't focus on it, but that is definitely somebody who's got like a little bit of stubble in the photo, I think. That if you had more time, you could work on. But.
Like, it's gonna ring at any time now. But yeah, it would be like more stubble there for sure. It's great too.
Shamkal saying the hairline's a bit too high. Oh yeah, his forehead is actually way too big. Well, not way too big, but a little bit too big.
It's the drama here. Way too big.
His forehead is terrible, David. Yeah, that's better.
Absolutely. And then there was like the ears, which I didn't put any value or anything. Put a few lines here just to help durability, and that's it.
There it is.
Wow.
Oh, those last 3 minutes were power minutes, though. That did make a big difference.
Yeah, well, you had a guy's portrait this week. I mean, when I started, I never thought I would get that close. I'm actually happy.
Do you have any reflections?
Yeah, we need to fix that lag before next one. This is too hard now. Because yeah, like I don't know if you guys been working with lag, but like literally, like each time I'm trying to make like a quick movement with my hand, it's making a huge difference. There's a bunch of things that I see now. Now that the pressure's off, like the eyes should be like higher. The nose is supposed to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe actually the whole top section here could have been raised just like that. And that's a little bit closer already.
So Nikki's saying, I think David needs 10 minutes more.
Okay.
Did you want to account for the lag?
Definitely. If you guys want to give it to me, I'll just continue. If you have question all that time, just go ahead. I'll just.
Yep, sure. I mean, here's the thing, guys. The exercise is meant to make it work for you, you know? If, like, the idea behind the timer is that you don't stress yourself out. If you do feel like you want to work on it 5-10 minutes afterwards, if you think you can learn a lot by working on it 5-10 minutes afterwards, then go for it.
I could spend like literally like just 5-10 minutes on exclusively the eyes, and that could be good too. Like that's where, like, when you have a time limit, it's up to you to choose like the best part. But because it's a portrait, I feel like working on the eyes would pay off.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a few more things that needs to be fixed, obviously.
Nick is saying, I'd love to see you polish it and recover the lag handicap. So yeah, I mean, this is where the real fun starts to happen in the detailing.
That's where it takes a lot more than 10 minutes, though. I could spend another hour on it, obviously.
Why don't we take 10 and see what you can, what the biggest differences you can make in 10 minutes.
One thing that I would do from here, I would probably go with, make just a copy of those eyes. I'm just going to try to get closer here. So I can see them when I'm really close.
Mm-hmm.
And then from here, I would just try to get more contrast. If I add more black, like pure black.
Wow, you really are on a low res today, huh?
I'm always that low res.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Just for the live session.
Yeah.
Let's see what people were saying. Jorge or George was saying the red color from earlier enhanced the portrait a lot. Wow. Bob's asking, do you use the smudge tool anytime to refine it?
Yeah, from time to time. Just when I have like, let's say if I were like here trying to, the nose, trying to, you know, make sure that it's not such a line, I would just use the smudge tool like this to just soft it up a little bit. So yeah, this is very low resolution, just making sure here that I have enough power to go through.
So we have some nice comments from a few people that I'll read out to you because you can't see the chat. So no, everyone's saying it's pretty terrible. No, let's see. ELB67. That's a catchy name that rolls right off the tongue. Was saying, great job for the time. Bob's saying, fabulous, David, great job. Got a few applauses. And Coffee Sun was asking, saying, great job. And hello, do you guys do this every Tuesday? Which, yes, we do. Every Tuesday. This is our 4th session so far. If you're on our email newsletter, then you should have gotten an email about it. We usually send out an email a few hours before. So yeah, next week we'll try to do, if this time works for you, David, we could try to do.
It should. I mean, right
now. Can't
now,
commit to that now, but.
Not commit to that, guys. I would love to tell you that, but.
This month's a little hectic for David because he's visiting family and friends in Montreal.
Exactly. Trying the best. Here, I really want to add just a little bit of, and I'm not timing myself, so if anybody timing myself, go ahead. I'm just gonna add myself like a little splash of like overlay. Like there's like some blue into the eyes here, and if I add some overlay with the saffron brush here, I'll be able to catch it up like I do it right now. Maybe some yellowish, bright yellowish as well. That's too intense, but still too intense.
Real quick question from Rustiel, who's asking, are these sessions free? Like, can anyone join to do the exercise? Yeah, absolutely. everything you need to know is in the description to this video, including a link to download it, and a link to our free Facebook community where you can post your results afterwards, which we highly encourage. So you can give each other feedback, and so everyone can join along.
Okay. I feel like the eyes are better, but I'm going to use a color, and I'm going to use black or white to just make sure that they're not so yellow. Right now, they're kind of yellowish. So it's going to go over the sclera, which is the white of the eye. Kind of take all that color, and I'm going to zoom out, see if it's better. I think it's better. Yeah, it's better. Just merging all of that. What can I do now?
I'd say the lips are still the one.
Yeah,
the nose is too short. It's come down a bit, I think.
What?
And then maybe the nose is too high, so the nose needs to come down a little bit. Like the bottom of the nose, it needs to be longer, and then that might help fix the issue of the space between the nose and the lip, because the top lip, I'd say, is still too big.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
So you think that?
Yeah. The top lip is a little bit off, and that's throwing the bottom lip a bit, I'd say.
Okay, right.
Bob's also saying, is the nose a tiny bit wide? Which I think it's fairly okay.
That's close. Could be a little bit. I think it's the value, Bob. It's not the. I think it's because the values are darker on mine. So
yeah, you're right.
It looks like it's smaller, but I think it's pretty close to that to be the right. But yeah, I was definitely a little bit lower. Now, when it comes to those lips.
Yep, that's already starting to look more like him. I'd erase even more off the top lip.
You would, huh?
Yeah, like look at the I don't know what it's called, like where the middle of the lip. What's that little section called? Do you remember?
Didn't know
Yeah.
I'm having a blank now.
I know, I read it the other day because Sebastian just did the lip exercise and posted it, but I completely forgot it. Anyways, that little like fold on the right side.
Usually is with us. Maybe he knows.
I haven't seen him. Does anybody else know what that's called? Because it's slipping my mind. But either way, the one on the right is just, look at the distance from there to the bottom lip. It's still just like a millimeter or so too big, but it is looking much closer now. Yeah, that's a lot closer.
So like, if I go to black and white and just look at the values, I feel like there's some work to do.
So Arushi's saying it might be called the arch or the Cupid's bow, according to Jessica, or the philtrum or medical cleft.
Why I don't remember any of those. I feel like it's another name. That's funny. Well, thank you guys. I'll have a look at afterwards.
Russ still saying, have you tried flipping or painting? I don't think you have actually this whole time, have you?
I did not. Now I'm scared. I usually do, but I did not.
That's looking pretty close.
Looks pretty close.
Yeah. I'd say you nailed that on the first flip, so to speak. Can we coin that and make that expression now? Oh yeah, the ear is a bit small, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
I could literally spend like time. That's where you start losing yourself, and that's the opposite.
That's where the exercise is meant to not go.
Exactly.
So I'd say maybe give it. Sorry.
We're gonna have to call it a day, I think.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say those last few minutes helped you really tie things together. But everything from now is just pure detailed work.
Exactly. So there you go, guys. Thanks for showing up. Each time it's really fun to have a crowd to be able to chat with, to get your feedback, your comments, and just hang out basically. We really like that. Literally, I could do that forever now. I'm just scanning, looking at stuff. So we're going to call it a day. We're going to let you go with your day, guys. Thank you for showing up. We will do our best to be in for another Timer Tuesday next week, trying at the same time, I'm guessing. But yeah, in the meantime, enjoy this one. I'm looking forward to see your results. And happy painting at the end of the
Yes. Again, if you were following along, you'd like to follow along yourself, the file as well as all the info you need to know are under the video in the description. So you can download it there. Have a try. Set yourself a 60-minute timer, even if you're a complete beginner and you're not sure you're going to be able to do it. Just do it and give yourself permission to not have to have an amazing outcome. That's the whole point of it, is to just paint for the sake of learning and have fun with it. Try not to get frustrated or caught up in things. Just see what happens, see where it goes, and enjoy the whole process. So yeah, thanks so much for showing up. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing your results. And I guess with that, unless you have any last words, I would say see you next week. Sorry?
See you next week, guys.
All right, take care, everyone. Have a great day. Happy painting.